welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Today we're going to work on probably my favorite cup, the beautiful, the stunning Tiffany cup. Now this cup is gorgeous. It's got simple clean lines, but what you may not know, it's really simple to make. Your base coat, you've got your bow, and your epoxy. Once you've mastered those three items, you're going to have a stunner. All right, let's go over what we need to make this cup. We need a tumbler, excuse me. This is a 20 ounce. This is actually a 30 ounce skinny. And what you want to do, you don't need to base coat it because the aqua color paint that we're going to be putting is actually going to be the base coat. But you do want to sand this. You do want to rough this up and sand it really good because we don't want to take any chances with the paint chipping off or peeling off or anything like that. So give it a good sand. A lot of people say they sand it until they smell metal, but you want to go ahead and give it a good sand all the way around. Then you are going to use Rust-Oleum 2 times Ultra Cover, and this is Seaside in satin. And the key to this cup is just a really flawless paint job, so you want to be really, really careful. Then you need your decal. I'm using printable vinyl, and I've got my bow and ribbon already printed out on the printable vinyl. I use, just because I got it on sale on Amazon, I used the Cricut printable vinyl. I think it was like $8 for, this is 10 sheets. So it was on sale for either $6 or $8. I can't remember, but it was really inexpensive. So I bought like 4 or 5 of them. And then you do need, for the little Tiffany label down here, you will need either waterslide or vinyl. I've used both. I prefer a waterslide just because it's so easy, just not having to get all those tiny little letters off and then line them up perfectly if they come off. So I prefer a waterslide. So we'll go ahead and create a waterslide for that. So with that said, let's head out in my yard. I'm going to go ahead and spray paint the cup. Rust-Oleum 2 times in Seaside satin. And what you want to do is you just want to get a really, really even coat, so you don't want to be real heavy-handed with it. So I'm going to start out and I'm going to do just some short bursts. The wind's blowing kind of wild, and I don't want any drips. So I'm just going to leave it at that for right now. I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and I'll come back and shoot it again. Welcome back. So yesterday we spray painted this cup thoroughly. We gave it 3 coats of the spray paint. And then today, after it had dried overnight, I went ahead and put a single light coat of epoxy on the cup. And the reason why I did that is because since we're just working with a spray painted base, you don't want to take any chances that the paint is going to chip or scratch or anything like that. So you want to go ahead and get that epoxy coat on to protect that paint, since you're not putting glitter or anything else on this cup. It's solely the paint. Now I tell you, I use Counterculture fast set epoxy, and wow, when they say fast, they mean fast. I mixed it up and I had probably a good 10 minutes of working time, so it wasn't so fast that I felt like I was rushing through the application of the epoxy. I didn't really smell an odor. I do use a chemical respirator, so I have the allergy to the epoxy, so I would definitely suggest everybody use a respirator so you don't develop that allergy like I did. So I never really smelled it. Some people say that they can smell it even after it dries. I mean, there's a slight scent, but it's certainly not unpleasant. And I put the layer of epoxy on at about noon. And I tell you, by about 1:15, 1:20 when I checked it, it was dry to the touch and glassy and smooth. And I have to tell you, I love this stuff. So I know they say to only use it for like the first or second layer. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that's because it, you know, all epoxy yellows over time, and it will yellow. They say maybe a little bit quicker than some of the other UV epoxies, you know, high UV epoxies. So, you know, the best thing to do is put it on your, you know, your base coats or, you know, your first or second layer, and then cover it with your regular, you know, high UV epoxy, whatever it is that you use. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and apply the decal and the water slide, and we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, I've got our cup, our Tiffany logo, water slide, and the bow. I was gonna try and go through and show you how to recreate this in Cricut Design Space and Inkscape, but it got a little bit more convoluted than I was able to show you. So I'm actually going to put this bow in my Facebook group called Tumblers, Tips and Tricks. It's brand new, it's just starting out, but if you join our Facebook group, you'll be able to pick up this file with the bow and the ribbon, and then you just have to adjust it size wise. I'll have the SVG in there. Anyway, so there's our bow. I'm going to try and do this upside down. The camera is faced away from me, so this might be a challenge. But first things first, we've got to kind of find the middle of this cup. So some people are able to eyeball that. I'm not good at that. I want to make sure that that ribbon is going down straight. So what I actually do is take a rubber band and put it around the cup. And then I make sure that it is centered on the top, and then I center it in the middle on the bottom, and that just gives me something to eyeball. So I know kind of where to put the ribbon. And then what I have here is my homemade tumbler holder, just 2 pool noodles with 2 hair ties wrapped around. You can buy the same idea on Amazon, or you can make them with PVC pipe. This was easy. I had it on hand, and it works. So, okay. Actually, let's go this way. Hopefully I can do it this way. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the large bow and peel it off. This is all done. I'm not going to use any transfer tape. This is all done. Just placing it with your hand. And what you want to do is where the top of the decal stops, that's where it stops up here. That's how I have it measured, and that's where it stops up here. So what I'm going to do is hold up that little rubber band and simply place it right underneath it. Now that I've got it placed, now that I've got it placed, I can just lay it down. Now, because you're dealing with a curve, you want to make sure that you stick the middle down first, and I'm going to lift this up. There we go. Stick the middle part down first. Also, make sure that you've got very, very clean hands for this, because this printable vinyl, I love it. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love doing the print and cut with it. it'll pick up any kind of oils or dirt or anything that you have on your hand. You know, me, I usually have paint or alcohol ink or something like that. We'll pick it up. So you want to try your best to make sure that your hands are as clean as possible. Okay, and then just lay it down. There we go. All right, let me turn it around here just to take a look and make sure. Okay, now, I'm not gonna lie. This bottom gets a little wonky. So you just kind of have to do your best when you're laying this tape down or this printable vinyl down. You really are just gonna kind of have to pay attention because there's a lot, and especially on these tumblers, there's a lot of little ridges and divots and things like that. So it does make it more challenging. So just really kind of try and pay attention and get it to lay down as smoothly as you can. Okay. All right. So the next piece I'm going to do is this little short piece on the smallest piece is actually the extension of this ribbon here. So this ribbon here. Oops, is it in frame? This ribbon. There we go. So, oops. That's stuck in there. So I'm going to deal with it. So what you want to do is you just want to be really careful where you're placing this. And you, let me get closer in frame so you can see. And you just barely overlap it. Just barely. Let me turn it so I can make sure I'm doing this. So just a touch overlapping. All right. Now, don't stick it down yet because you've got to make sure that you're going to meet up on the other side correctly. And we're going to meet up just about perfectly. Maybe it's a little bit lower. There. All right. Now there's a little extra. And you don't really want it to overlap because I don't know if you can see under there. If it overlaps too much, you can see it. So what I do, I take my good cutter. This is my Cricut cutter. I don't use it for anything else, but when I need a nice fine cut, I slice it right there. There we go. All right. Okay. So now it's all the way around. And it meets up and you just barely see it. You're going to hardly see that under epoxy. All right. So now you got to do the same thing on the bottom. And I'm going to start with, this little piece, the smaller piece. And like I said, you've got to kind of play with the bottom because there's just too many divots on these cups. And you'll notice, if you can see it, it doesn't lay perfectly. So we'll address that in a second here. Let me turn it that way. So again, we're just going to just barely overlay it. Okay. And again, stick it on the other side. Okay, and I'm going to take this last piece. Is it still in frame? Yep. And again, just overlapping it just ever so slightly. Making sure you're still going straight up. And there you go. And then just take the top, curl it around, and cut it off. There we go. All right. So our bow is on. Our ribbons are on. They're straight. I'm going to work on the bottom here. And what I'll do is just take my little straight edge, and I might have to snip, well, not snip, but slice these little corners just so I can press them down. And that makes it much more clean. So again, oh, I can't do this left-handed. Slice them. You guys can't see them. Sucks getting old. And then put them down. So that looks pretty clean. So again, I'm going to do that on this side. I'm going to slice them and lay it down. Okay, so now we have that. Now we're going to work on the water slide. I have a little dish here with some water. I think I'm going to put just a touch more. And I have the water slide here. I printed it on Cricut water slide paper, clear, transparent. And then I took it out and sprayed it with Rust-Oleum Clear Matte. I sprayed that twice, light dusting. And then the last thing I sprayed on it was the Plasti Dip. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the water. And you just leave it in there for a few minutes. Let it get nice and soft. I put it face down first because if you don't put it face down, if you put it in the water like that, face up, it'll curl up into a little curly Q. So if you put it face down first, I found that it doesn't curl up as much. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. I don't know. I don't make the rules. But it gets the job done. Okay, so we're gonna let it sit in there, and what we want it to do is have the filmy water slide and the paper actually separate from the backing of it, so we can just pull it right off. And let me test it, and you can see that it's just getting ready and pulling off. So I'm going to put this here. I want my Tiffany label to go right here. So I'm just going to lay it down. I'm going to just eyeball to make sure that it is straight. And then I'm going to get my little squeegee. And I'm going to squeegee the water out. And I'd say she's ready for epoxy. All right, I have my chemical mask on. Go ahead and epoxy this cup, and I'll probably turn it on fast speed so you don't have to sit through this whole thing. Now I have very few bubbles in here because I do use an epoxy mixer. So there's very few, but I'm still going to use my torch because there might be micro bubbles in there that even I can't see. So I'm going to use swift sweeping motions across the epoxy. Be very careful, epoxy can catch on fire, but this is the best way to pop any of those bubbles. Okay, that looks really good. So we're just gonna let this spin, and I'll probably hit it another time in about a half an hour with the torch in case any more bubbles surfaced. You definitely want to get as smooth as a finish as possible with this cup. So next time I see you, we'll be looking at the finished cup.
And there she is. Isn't she a beauty? Man, I really do like this cup. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And finally, for more tips like this and more videos, please join our Facebook group at Tumblers, Tips and Tricks. Thanks so much. Until next time, bye-bye.